freedom, freedom over fame, freedom over cycle stays the same.
Everybody, welcome back. I want to start this episode by saying thank you so much for joining us for our 17th episode. And we're going to be covering Sunrise on the Reaping
by Suzanne Collins.
Suzanne Collins, the legend herself. This book came out on March 18th. So very recently. We were anticipating.
We got it immediately.
Yeah. As fast as we could. Of course, it was totally sold out.
I couldn't wait to read it, and I loved it. Mm-hmm. By the way, hi, it's Adri.
Of course, we're your hosts, Jeanna and Adri, as always. But we were just so excited to talk about this book. Always like huge fans of Suzanne Collins. We've covered the original Hunger Games in this podcast before, and just always anticipating any new works from her. So we have talked about her backstory and things like that. I do want to start this episode with the disclaimer that we will be talking about some things, including violence, and we do give a lot of spoilers. All right.
Really, if you haven't read the book, get out of here.
Yeah, run. Do not walk. Run away from us right now.
I assume that if you're tuning into our podcast, you either haven't read the book and want a summary and you're fine with everything, or you've read the book and you're here to revel in the content with us.
Just bathe in it. Mm-hmm. Just let it shower over you.
I can't say enough good things about this book. I loved this book. I've cried. I didn't really laugh, but no, seriously, this book like truly shattered me. I cried for Haymitch. I cried for Maisie. I cried for Lenore. I cried for even like a young Effie. Mm-hmm. All of the characters were. This book really broke me. It really hit me, especially knowing that it's the backstory to the trilogy that we all love. Mm-hmm. I mean, I don't know if you guys do, but I do. And to see how long they've been fighting against the Hunger Games. And then if you haven't read The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, which I'm in the middle of reading right now, Jeanna and I went to go see the movie in 2023.
I laughed
controversial.
Because I don't remember not one iota of it.
And yet, who else would I have spent Thanksgiving Day
and it's
at the movies
It's
with?
One of our traditions. We go to the movies on Thanksgiving. Neither one of us are big Thanksgiving people. And she actually showed me the receipts because we've got the little AMC app, and I can't remember this movie. And I'm a movie person, so that's why it's kind of a fun inside joke. I don't believe it, and I don't know not one character from that movie.
You know Snow.
I didn't know his face. Like when I saw the preview, I was like,
I showed her
who's
the
that
preview.
Cat? Who's that? Who's that?
Are you 75 now? Who's that cat over there?
Who's that cat walking down the street with his fair hair and his blue eyes? But anyway,
this book gave us just so much backstory. It was really poetic, in my opinion. Mm-hmm. I feel like a lot of the connections that we made, even down to the pin, like the Mockingjay pin, which we'll get into, just like really, really heartbreaking.
Well, and I think it was a great pick to pick Haymitch as getting his little backstory. We knew him as the only victor. He was, a huge grumpster, a drunk, and really somebody who I think remained a bit elusive in the original Hunger Games series. He didn't really dig a lot into his past. We all assumed that he was an alcoholic due to his trauma, of course.
Totally.
But the details of his trauma were absent.
It's like you finally understand why he is the way he is. Mm-hmm. Down to the last few pages of the book, I sobbed. Because we saw some of the deaths we saw coming. There was no one in the Hunger Games gets a happy ending. No one. Lenora Dove is Haymitch's sweetheart. He loves her. We open on the reaping, which I thought was really interesting, which I don't know if we had read this before in any of the other books, but the reaping happens on 4th of July. every year, which happens to be his birthday.
That's fucked up.
That is fucked up.
Yeah.
It's just...
But what isn't from the Capitol?
But I just mean in terms of like, I don't feel like it's so much a dystopian future as it is like a mirror of where we are now in the world.
I mean, we're certainly not having Hunger Games, but
aren't we?
But this episode it could definitely get into a political space. So
yeah, I think so. But so we open on the reaping, which again is July 4th. And then we also get to meet his brother Sid, his mom, and then his sweetheart Lenora Dove. Mm-hmm. And even in the way that, obviously like we all know that Haymitch ends up being the victor because he's in the main trilogy. And this is his backstory. But even in the way his family dies, even the way that Lenora Dove dies, like I didn't see it coming.
Which is a testament to, again, how great of a writer Suzanne Collins is, because we knew how this ended.
We did.
And we still were flipping page after page, just very interested in all the details that got him there.
Yeah.
Quick summary real fast. The novel begins in District 12, the morning of the reaping of the 50th Hunger Games, which mandates twice the usual number of tributes. So 2 boys, 2 girls from each district. Haymitch Abernathy, he's 16 at the time, obviously in District 12. He's thrust into the games. Now, this was actually really interesting because
he's not originally called.
I was waiting for him to get pulled.
Me too.
I was like, obviously, he says he's got X amount of extra entries.
Right. And so during the Hunger Games, we get to see Haymitch begin to form his alliance, uncover all the things about the arena. We also get introduced to characters that we've already know and love. So we see a young Effie. We see a young Caesar Flickerman. We also get backstories into some of the characters that I didn't know that I needed backstories for. So like Mags is his mentor who comes from District 4, I believe. And she's the one that we see in Catching Fire. We just get backstory into them. We get Wyrus, we get Beatty. So we see all of these characters that we already know, and it gives so much context to who they are. Anyway, so he defies the Capitol, obviously, and it leads to a bunch of losses and deaths, and Snow ultimately kills the people that he loves as repercussion. So it really does give us the context into why Haymitch is the way he is. I was having this really multifaceted experience because I was reading the book and at the same time imagining the character that I already had read about or watched the movie for, right? Because we've read these books, we've watched the movies. So in my mind, it is that actress. And then I see her slipping into the fog and dying. And I'm like, Mags, no, like, not again.
Mags was one that we knew was going to pass because she was so old, but
right.
also...
She was 80 years old in that book.
Right. And Finnick tried so hard to keep her alive as long as he could. But I think her death was as honorable as you can get.
And Wyrus and Beatty, we get to see them like young Wyrus and Beatty, you know, because Beatty's such a big deal in Catching Fire again. He does the whole blowing up he's just all tech.
Yeah.
That's what he is.
He's IT support for all of them in the Hunger Games, right?
He's all, have you tried restarting your computer?
Yeah, right. He's all, but have you tried using the on and off button on your iPhone? Just
every once in a while, turn your phone off.
Yeah, it's good for your battery.
Yeah. It didn't register with me quite so much until about halfway through Plutarch early on.
Yeah. He's one of my favorite characters. One,
really?
Because of the actor, because I really love the actor who played him. And 2, because what a boss. It's like, I think it's really easy to clearly define a hero and a villain, but I think when you're in a position like Plutarch's where you have to actively go along with torture, murder, etc., all for the greater good of...
And we see how long he's been doing it. And
he's been at it. Like,
because this is the 50th. We meet them.
75th.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the tenacity.
The dichotomy of it all.
Yeah, exactly, though. I feel like so many times the greatest characters are both the hero and the villain. And although his story is somewhat brief, he plays such an important part in the book series to me.
Yeah, I didn't initially place him until, again, about halfway through because I was so focused on Drusilla and how fucking god awful she was.
Ah, she's cunty.
She's the worst.
Yeah.
And he's just like placating her by being like, "You're beautiful."
Right.
And I'm like, ugh, you fucking vapid piece of shit.
You're a terror.
And then like Effie comes in because of all of this, you know. It's just, I've always wanted to be a writer, but I read books like this and I wonder how Suzanne Collins has done it. How she did she have this book in the back of her mind when she was creating the Hunger Games? Was she leaving those breadcrumbs open for herself in the original trilogy?
Future.
Yeah, because some of the pieces,
good question.
yeah, some of the pieces that she circles back to, just really small little things. Like again, Effie's character is obviously unlikable in the original trilogy because she represents the Capitol. And yet here, she's a warm, welcome embrace. And it almost felt comforting to see her come in.
Yeah.
Because it was familiar. And you're going like, oh, I'm seeing these characters develop. And she is a kinder person than a Drusilla.
Yeah.
Right?
100%.
And what was his name? Magno Strike or something like that?
I don't remember. Magno Strike? That sounds like the god of thunder.
Magno Strifed.
Magno Strife.
He was the one that was just like putting them in like coal miner.
Oh, the designer.
Yeah, the designer, because she comes in because
terrible.
her sister Proserpina is one of the two kids that's like getting credit for this. And then they realize that they're gonna not do great because Magno can't show up to do shit.
Yeah.
And so she comes in with all of her shit, you know, and she's like a fashion student and she's like young and bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, you know?
Right.
And I think that's what was nice about this book is getting to meet all of these characters when they're so young and fresh in the face. And then you also go like, fuck, that means that they've been doing this shit for 25 years.
Right.
This was also Caesar Flickerman's first hosting gig. So we see him hosting still again 25 years later.
And just as enthusiastically as he began in this era. So and I think that's a really good question. I recently saw like a small snippet of Rebecca Yarros, and she was having like an open forum where people could ask her questions. And they were like, hey, this is a spoiler as well again. Basically, she asked, I don't want to spoil this in case somebody hasn't read this book. So she asked why a certain character died. And Rebecca Yarros was basically like, I'm a plot writer. She was like, I knew this person was going to die when I started writing the book. And so I'm not sure if Suzanne Collins knew she was going to do origin stories, but if she didn't know that she was going to make this book, you could have fooled me.
100%.
Because she seamlessly tied everybody's lives in without a falter. I couldn't find a fracture in the storyline at all. And if anything, it made all of the characters bloom even more, you know? They just blossomed into a whole separate garden as to where we're always going to love Katniss Everdeen. She is our heart and our soul of rebellion. She succeeded.
Yeah, but it just shows us how much... It just goes to show you, though, how time really took its toll on Haymitch. Because I think one of the things that catches me so off guard about his stories, he went in and was pretty much convinced he wasn't going to come out. Like the whole book.
He was preparing to die.
He's talking about how he's not going to make it. It's not going to be him. Even with Maisie Donner, his counterpart. I mean, there were 3 other tributes, and we'll get into the unfortunate fate for Luella, R.I.P. Lulu, and then Wyatt, who honestly didn't make quite an impression on me. Like, I don't fucking remember how he died.
He died in the beginning of the Reaping.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So like straight away, he got killed in the beginning carnage.
Okay. Yeah. He didn't matter.
Yeah. He was definitely a very, but the thing that got me with his character was his family had basically capitalized off of these games.
That's right.
And so he was basically like, do you think your family's betting on you right now? What are your odds? And he seemed to be the softer hearted version of his family. Yeah. And he was like, honestly, I wouldn't put super high odds on myself, but here I am. So
yeah, it also was really telling because we got to spend just like any other Hunger Game, we got to spend a lot of time with the characters as they're prepping to go into the arena. And we got to see how they take what they feel are unremarkable traits, unremarkable skills, and they spin them to how they're going to use them to survive. Right.
Yeah. Because District 12 has almost zero advantage in resources. Mm-hmm. They are extremely poor.
Yeah.
Extremely poor. And follow the money for success, right? So, and that goes for the higher the number on the districts, the more money they have. You've got not the tributes, but the careers who basically just train for this their whole entire
Okay,
lives.
can we ask a serious question?
Of course.
We have had 3 renditions of the Hunger Games at this point, right? We've followed Jeanna said she has not. She did not participate.
Hard eye roll on that one.
She swears she did not participate or in any way ingest the Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. But that was the 25th. Then this brings us to the 50th, right? And then we obviously know the 75th and 76th, right? And yet the careers don't fucking win. So can we please stop talking about the careers being like badass motherfuckers?
Mm-hmm. But they are formidable adversaries, we'll say.
They are, I guess. I don't want a book about a career that wins because they all seem like kind of brutish and stupid.
And what a strange thing to
aspire to do,
right? When you're in your teen years. I think you and I also watched a TikTok together where we saw, because these actors have been actors since they were children.
Yeah.
We saw Katniss and Peeta and I think a couple other characters. And it was like, you see them here, but this is what they actually would have looked like in real time if they were 16. Babies. Literally 150 pounds soaking wet.
If that.
And that's for some of the taller boys, maybe the careers, something like that. Yeah. So just the conceptualize having small, non-cognitively defined and fully formed brains.
I just find it really hard to believe. Like I don't believe that this book series is so much dystopian as it is a mirror of our society, even though we don't have an exact Hunger Game, right? But like, let's face it, the world is fucking crazy right now. I find it really hard to believe that someone would train their child to go to battle with other children for the sake of their government. Mm-hmm. Like, even in the world we live in today, in the fucked up country we are right now, under a Trump, I can't imagine, and maybe this is just me being unpatriotic, if you will, but I don't think that's not being patriotic. I think that's being a critical thinker. I don't think I can understand or would never understand someone training their 10-year-old and going like, you know what, Trump said we have to do this. And so because of, no, soldiers.
I mean, that's been happening forever.
I know, but is that the equivalent to what we're experiencing in these books? Is it soldiers? Because I've known soldiers who've gone to war and they regret it. They realize what a sham their own government is.
Yeah. Luckily, today in this society, you have to be 18. But in the history of humanity, we've had, even tribes will send their young adolescents off as like a proof of adulthood, and they'll have them do something that usually entails survival violence. But yeah, in our history and other countries' history, we've definitely sent men and boys out to war for sure.
Yeah.
For the sake of somebody who's rich and has power, and they've decided that it is so.
I agree. Yeah, it just feels wild to me to think that these kids are training for this, but kudos to the underdogs, because it really always, these books is at least the quarter games, the quarter and 50th and 75th, they've always been the underdogs that win. I want to talk about Maisie a little bit. Maisie Donner, who was
I loved Maisie.
I loved her too. I didn't think I was going to love her as much as I did. Obviously, they kind of started off with being a little bit annoying and prissy, but she brought such a dignity to the Hunger Games. She's so rebellious in her own, like, incredibly feminine way, from being even them in the cart when they're like taking them to the Capitol. And she's like, what, are plates and napkins too much to ask for?
Yeah, because she's like the more well off, which is really just kind of what we would consider middle class, but the more well off group in District 12. And she has a twin sister. Yeah, I don't think Haymitch would have made it without her in the games. I think that she's a Taurus if I've ever known a Taurus.
A Taurus?
She's a Taurus. Like, look, she loves nice things. She's super stable.
Could we not argue Capricorn? Could the argument not be made?
The argument could be made. Earth sign. We'll say Earth sign
for sure. Earth sign.
But Tauruses are
Tune in for our second podcast where we read anyone's random chart.
We read charts we don't know anything about. We're lightweight chart people. But I've known Tauruses to always be one of their less progressive signs is they really like nice things.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So she seems like a Taurus to me. That stable nature of hers and her non-relinquishing of her humanity and her standards really kept Haymitch in check.
I really think it was a very grounding energy for him.
Totally, because he was lost. That whole time he was lost. There's even the time where they were running from the careers. They accidentally stumble on some game makers who are like cleaning up or something.
Yeah, it was when because spoiler alert, Beatty, who we meet in Catching Fire, Beatty's son is in the Hunger Games as really just like a punishment for him.
Yeah.
And his son dies, but he is part of the team that's kind of orchestrating this, like, let's fuck up the Hunger Games, right? That is the whole book. The book is Haymitch gets pulled into the Hunger Games. He meets people who are like, we're going to rebel. This is how we're rebelling. And then kill, people die. Haymitch wins. He goes home and he's sad. Summary.
Yeah. It's
while they're inside, they do run into two or three game makers.
Yeah, so some of the lower game makers, right? Yeah. But they run into him, and then one of the careers actually has Maisley's back, and she fucks, because they all kind of look around, and they're like, what are you doing here? Right. And then they're all like, well, fuck you guys.
No shit.
There's nobody that they hate more than the people that put them in there. So
how do you think you would do in a Hunger Games situation?
I don't know. It would either go really well or really bad. I would either really cling to my humanity and be like, hey, I'm going to fucking...
I don't see that for you.
I'm going to Gandhi it up,
no,
and I'm going to be like, you guys can take my body, but my soul will live on.
You'll just take me with my self-made flower crown.
Yeah, I'll get out of here. I love you all for who you are. It's not your fault. Or I go full on fucking carnage.
I see you with war paint under your eyes.
Like, I'm on and it would really have to
made of the blood of your enemies.
Yeah, literally. My first kill, I take out their intestines and wipe it all over my face.
Right.
You know?
That's who I see you being.
And it's possible, but only if I had some sort of I would need somebody to protect. And I would need an absolute enemy. Like, I couldn't just look around at like 17-year-old children, as I was also 16, and be like, I'm going to murk you motherfuckers.
Yeah.
Somebody would have to definitely threaten me and mine.
Yeah. I feel, who's to say? Honestly, we joke about this a lot, but in times of stress, somehow I stay calm. So maybe I would just be like an organizer, you know? Like I'd be like I'd need something to do, and I would stay alive for like a little bit. I can't run though.
Well,
let's pretend I can
you're
run.
16.
Let's pretend I can run here.
Your optimum health, your optimum running capability.
I was so healthy.
Yeah. Brand new, right out the box knees. Brand new, right out the box ankles.
It's the ankles for me. For anyone who doesn't know, I don't know if we've ever talked about this. I've torn both of my Achilles tendons.
Right.
So whenever I say that I can't run.
Snap.
Thanks. So whenever we talk about me not being able to run in an apocalypse, it's because I literally cannot physically run. Thanks. I'll answer a few questions. No, it doesn't hurt. It just feels like a weird snapping in your calf. You don't actually feel it in your Achilles. How did I do it? I was doing CrossFit both times. Trash, basura. Anyways, so no, I don't. I mean,
I could see you literally being somebody, like you said, who organized it out. You were like, but if you really wanted to stay alive, you would create the alliance and create the game plan. Because do I see you as a murderer? Not really. But do I see you as somebody who would tell somebody else to murder for you?
Yes.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely.
I would do that.
Yeah.
Not a doubt in my mind.
Yeah.
But yeah, so Maisley's character, I love Maisley's character. She stays alive for quite a long time, which I think we really needed in the book. And then
Hamish needed it.
Yeah, we needed it.
Yeah.
Shit, I needed it.
You're all, I need something to hold on to.
I did. I was really invested in this book.
Well, you said she just told me again today she's gonna.
I've already started rereading it.
We ordered the book. The book was not in stores. It came in, and we had already finished reading it with our audiobooks and with our Kindles, and she wants to reread it with
physical copy.
With the physical copy, which that's
don't
a
get
big
me wrong.
testament.
I really fucking love a Kindle. I do. And I thought it was going to be like the end all. This is a side tangent for sure. I thought it was going to be like such a space and time saver, because I can just instantly have it. And I do like it because especially Kindle Unlimited where I can read some books for free. But for a book like this, I immediately, as soon as I got the physical copy, I was like, I need to reread it again. I need to make all of my annotations and my notes. And like, I loved this book. I cried. I was really invested. There's something really beautiful about you already knowing the characters in their maturity and then getting their backstory. I'm not finding I'm having the same experience with the Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes because it's Snow and who he ends up being. But with this book, I really loved it. So to Maisley though, I think the other piece of why I ended up loving that character as much as I did is Maisley is a twin. And her sister's name is Madge, and Madge obviously survives everything. And Maisley goes into the arena with the Mockingjay pin that we ultimately see go back to Madge, and Madge is the one who gives it to Katniss in the very first Hunger Games. And when the pieces clicked together for me, I went, oh, like it was just, again, somehow very poetic for me.
Yeah. And that's, again, a testament to Suzanne Collins herself. Yeah, a couple things I just want to, because I know we got a little sidetracked on. So how Hamish actually got in the game was not that his name was pulled. His name was not pulled, and he was trying to be protective over a mother that was getting emotional about her child whose name was pulled.
Yeah.
And so he stood up just to be an advocate. And then after all that confusion,
fucking Drusilla was like, looks like we've got our next boy.
Yeah, Drusilla was like, just grab that kid. It's fine. They edited it later, but I really thought that moment was important because Hamish really talks about himself in such a low light.
He does.
And is it a realistic light? Is it just like a low self-esteem? I think it's kind of hard to have high self-esteem in a place like District 12 where the hierarchy is so clearly lined out. But I think in that moment and all of his actions in the games really contradict how he feels about himself.
Yeah.
And the other point that kind of connected to that was when the careers and Maisley and Hamish run up on these game makers and they all kind of stand there for a second and they're like, what do we do? And then I think it's Maisley who attacks one of the game makers first, and then one of the careers actually backs her up, and Hamish kind of loses it. Like, he loses that opportunity to have her back. And Maisley comes back, and she's like, you're supposed to have my back, not that motherfucking bitch over there. She's like, what happened? And she really holds him accountable the whole time to his potential. And I think he is somebody who needs somebody to hold him accountable to his potential.
Oh, yeah, because this is something we hadn't really mentioned, but I don't think they introduced the concept of alliances. I think that's already been a thing even since, previous games, but he really does create an alliance amongst the lower level districts, right? Mm-hmm. And then right as they're going in, mainly because of Beatty and the whole plan to blow up the arena, he kind of
his son Ampert,
he kind of pulls away from their little alliance. So he kind of lone wolfs it for a little bit.
Right in the beginning.
Right at the beginning.
Yeah.
And when he does come back with the rest of his allies is when you kind of get to see what he's made of.
Well, and I think that there is a part where he kind of reflects and he's like, man, I was such a fucking coward. Like right in the beginning, I just pieced off of my team because he did have a whole plan orchestrated by Beatty.
And they seemed really hurt that he left them.
Yeah.
Because he doesn't tell them why.
Yeah, because only himself, Beatty, and Ampert know that he's going to try to blow up the bladder of the game.
Right.
And even with Maisley, there's some things where he's trying to coerce her to a different side of the
arena.
And he can't tell her why because the cameras are on.
And she's so suspicious.
She's like, why the fuck would we do that? Hey, man, you're not making any goddamn sense. And he's all, please.
Yeah. I really liked their dynamic. It was really sad to me when she inevitably died, though.
Of course. And I think before they got into the actual arena and when she passed, I think all of us were super low. I think that was a low energy part of the book that we inevitably knew was going to come and embody itself. But also his relationship with Lulu.
Oh, yeah, we don't even get into Lulu. So Lulu is Luella McCoy, who ends up being one of the tributes from District 12. And in the part where they dress them all up and they put them on the chariot and kind of ride them around the Capitol, there's an accident with the horses. The horse-drawn carriage is all fucking rickety and shit. And she cracks her skull and he holds her while she dies.
Yeah.
And
arguably probably the kindest way to die, I think.
Honestly, she dies before she gets to the games.
Right.
The really weird and unfortunate part is that obviously doesn't get aired because we know that the Capitol is kind of filtering everything that people are seeing, speaking to the propaganda, speaking to like very censored media.
Well, Haymitch gets pissed.
Yeah.
And then he goes and he rides the chariot up to President Snow and he holds her and he's all, fuck you, you did this. So that's when the target gets on his back.
And we kind of think that that's it because we don't hear anything for like a day or two that they're training. And then they bring in another Luella who's clearly not Luella. She's has like a little drug pack on her chest. So she's clearly being drugged. And then her speech pattern is completely like she's truly just
says words. She has an earpiece.
Yeah. She's just a shell of a human. And so Maisley, Wyatt, and Haymitch all kind of just take pity on her. And they're like, well, we don't want to make this girl's life even harder because we don't know how she ended up being here. So they nickname her Lulu because she's not their Luella, right? Originally, we thought that it was going to be Luella who he was going to have to protect going into the
he had already settled himself on it. He's all, Luella will be the reason why I stay strong in these games.
And it ends up being Maisley, which is, again, just such a development of their characters, and I really enjoyed how that worked out. It was just a really sad ending to Luella and into that character. And we find out that she was likely a girl from District 11 because
she liked the buns.
She liked the bread. I don't know. It's just so sad.
Yeah. Well, she would be conscious every once in a while, and she would cry out like, "You guys are trying to kill us. You guys are trying to kill us." You know. So, just the immense overextending violent control that this society has on the districts and all the pawns in these games because they're so terrified of the rebellion that had happened previously and the torture that they inflict.
I don't think that they're terrified of the rebellion that happened before. I don't think that's what it is. Like, if from the Capitol perspective, I think it's more an understanding that they have to keep the district scared. I think that they're not scared. I think that they're smart, not in a complimentary way, you know, but like maniacally.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I guess I would say at the end of the day, that's just fear that they're going to have an uprising. So I think that any act of violence is rooted in fear, personally.
Yeah, that's fair.
And we see the exact extent to what they will go through to maintain that control. And not only this book, but in The Hunger Games with Katniss and when she actually does rally everybody to come together with her. It was so symbolically artful to both highlight all of the ways in which Hamish was such a hero and all of the ways in which he was such a coward, and how that played out, because all of us are. There's not one person on the earth that is just 100% brave or 100% a coward. We all have these moments where all of the different avenues of our personality will come to light in different scenarios. And for him to do both silent and screaming rebellions against Snow, for it to cost him his whole life's happiness,
it cost him everything.
Yeah, which was
Lenora Dove.
And we all knew that she was going to die. I didn't think that his family was going to get burned alive.
Neither did I. So we're just going to head into the end. Obviously, Hamish wins, right?
Just by luck.
Truly.
They had to sew his stomach back together because he was going out.
Yeah. But he does end up winning his 50th Hunger Game. And we get to see, all of the fallout of that. And he finally gets sent back to District 12, which every victor at some point gets to go home. And it's just so telling of how expendable the Capitol feels that all of the tributes are. Mm-hmm. It is just truly a joke. It's truly just a manipulation of the districts to force them to do these things and then give some sort of praise to, and I mean praise in quotations, like praise to the victors, because they still treat them like absolute garbage. Mm-hmm. So he gets sent home along with the bodies of his fallen tributes. When he gets there, he pretty much runs home just to find that his family house is engulfed in flames. So his mom and his brother are burned alive. And I think later on in that chapter, we find out that they were found holding each other.
That's disgusting.
Yeah. And so the last little bit is he goes looking for Lenora Dove, and he actually goes to sit in like a meadow by himself. And then because she was captured somewhere in this, she gets captured.
So after he gets into the game, she like kind of does her own rebellion because she's a part of a musical group.
Yeah.
So she plays the musical songs that are basically outlawed. And then she gets basically put in like a detainment center, like a jail. And she calls him and she's like, yeah, I'm here, but they're going to let me out tomorrow. He gets out, wins the games, finds out she's been in there the whole time. Mm-hmm. So comes home, sees his family being fucking burned alive.
Yeah. And then he goes to go like clear his head in this meadow. And then he realizes that she's out there. And going back to the very first chapter, it's the day of the reaping and it's his birthday, but he goes and he buys her gumdrops. Mm-hmm. He says that they're her favorite thing. So he gets her these gumdrops. They even describe like the packaging and the ribbon that's on it and everything. And he gives them the day that he gets taken to the Capitol. He gives them to his brother and he goes, make sure that she gets these, right? So they find each other in the meadow. They run to each other. They hold each other. They're excited to see each other. He had originally got her these gumdrops. And then I'm just going to read straight from the book. We sink into the meadow grass, hands clasped. She reaches for the bag of gumdrops that she dropped in our reunion. Thanks for the candy. Gosh, look how hard I'm shaking. Here I say, taking the bag, not that I'm any steadier. I pluck a sweet from the bag and pop it in her mouth. She laughs. Now you're home. I guess I can eat the others. What others? I feed her another gumdrop. The ones Sid brought me. I put them under my pillow. And that's when he realizes that these are blood red gumdrops that were planted by Snow. And he pretty much tells her to start throwing up immediately, which she can't because she hasn't eaten in days because she's been in captivity. And he watches her and holds her while she dies.
Yeah. To the gumdrop that he fed her,
Just if we ever wondered why Hamish is an alcoholic.
Yeah. Watching your only family members burn alive in front of your eyes and then feeding the deathly gumdrop to, at that time, the only love of his life. And
truly the only love he ever had.
The only love he ever had after that. Because after that experience, he just became an alcoholic and cut everybody off, worrying that the Capitol was going to come after him and kill everybody that he ever cared about.
Yeah, which I think is a good place to go to one of our favorite quotes of the book.
So this excerpt doesn't really tie into...
It's part of the epilogue of the book. It ties into the epilogue. Forget it. So it might not be a quote, but
yeah, we've been getting, really good feedback on reading out the epilogues. And this one really stood out for me. It takes me a little bit stronger. It takes me a little bit longer to get emotional when I'm reading a book. But this is the part where I got emotional. I first saw the girl at the Hob when she was just a baby. Burdock was so proud of her. He toted her around everywhere. After he died in that mine explosion, she started coming alone, trading the odd squirrel or a rabbit. Tough and smart, her hair in 2 braids then reminding me for all of the world of Luella McCoy, my sweetheart of old. And after she volunteered for the games, that nickname couldn't help but slip out. I didn't want to let them in, her and PETA. But the walls of a person's heart are not impregnable. Not if they have ever known love. That's what Lenore Dove says, anyway. I didn't want to have anything to do with their memorial book after war. What use? What point? To relive all the loss? But when Burdock's page came up, I had to mention him showing me the grave. And I felt compelled to tell them about Maisie Donner, former owner of the Mockingjay pen, and how Sid loved the stars. Before I knew it, they all came tumbling out. Family, tributes, friends, comrades in arms. Everybody, even my love. I finally told our story. A few days after that, Katniss showed up with an old basket filled with goose eggs. Not to eat, to hatch. I raided a few different nests so they can breed all right. Never mind that we had a roast goose for dinner. She's not an easy person. She's like me, PETA always says. But she was smarter than me, or luckier. She's the one who finally kept that sun from rising. Because Lenore Dove had always told him to try to keep the sun from rising on another one of the games, which was his whole motivation.
She had that whole quote. One of the quotes from her in the book is like, "Can you imagine a life without the sunrise on another games?" Mm-hmm. Something like that.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Because he was, you know what? I think I have that quote. You don't really believe that, do you? Maybe not, but I try to, because the reaping is going to happen no matter what I believe, sure as the sun will rise tomorrow. Lenore Dove frowns. Well, there's no proof that'll happen. You can't count on things happening tomorrow just because they happened in the past. It's faulty logic. Is it? I say, because it's kind of how people plan their lives.
I think what I loved so much about Lenora too is that this kind of goes into the Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. She's a descendant of Lucy Gray Baird, which is the winner in the games that year with Snow as her mentor. And it's the very first year that they have mentors. And so Lenora Dove is a descendant of hers. I think she's like her great-grandmother or her grandmother, something like that. And so Lenora does use songs in the same way that Lucy did as well. If I could share my favorite quote.
Of course.
So it says, this is from Hamish also remembering Lenora, like towards the end of the book. And he goes, well, Lenora Dove comes to me now. She's not angry or dying, so I think she's forgiven me. She's grown older with me, her face etched with fine lines, her hair touched with gray. Like she's been living her life beside me as the years passed instead of lying in her grave. Still so rare and radiant, I fulfilled my promise about the reaping, or at least lent a hand. But she says I can't come to her yet. I have to look after my family. And one of the other things, pretty early on in the book, one of the songs that Lenora Dove sings, I am not going to sing, but I will read you the lyrics for.
I think you should sing.
So they make a lot of references to this hanging tree in the book. And so some of the lyrics say, they hang the mag and flog the woman who steals a goose from off the commons, yet let the greater villain loose that steals the commons from the goose. The law demands that we atone when we take things that we do not own, but leaves the lords and ladies fine who take things that are yours or mine. The poor and wretched don't escape if they conspire the law to break. This must be so, but they endure those who conspire to make the law. The law locks up the man or woman who steals the goose from all the common, and geese will still a common lack till they go and steal it back. And it really does speak to how, whether it's music, whether it's books, whether it's visual art, a rebellion or resistance will always grow in the arts.
Oh, totally.
And I think this book is a beautiful representation of that.
Well, if this wasn't just a big middle finger to the Trump administration, I don't know what this book is.
I just really love the people who think that this isn't about them.
Yeah. The people out there that...
Remember when people thought that Wicked, they were relating to Elphaba?
Yeah, they tried to spin it like Trump was Elphaba. And
I fucking can't.
But the thing is that I'm not saying that there are not like conservative artists out there. I'm saying that they're few and far between.
Babe, did you not see the pastor who drew Trump on stage? Art.
Yeah, art right there for
Resistance.
Sure. But it's punk music, metal music, any sort of music genre has been utilized for rebellion, painting, drawing, rebellion, poetry. To anybody out there who is conservative and you think that you are the victims in stories like this, you are so disconnected, I can't help you.
Yeah.
Artists are the truth tellers of our times. So if you want to know what things were really like, look to the art in that time period. And somebody had said, I think I saw it on a TikTok as well, that they thought that Suzanne Collins thought that people were relating too hard to President Snow. And then the Trump administration came along and Suzanne Collins went, I'm going to show you exactly why you should hate this motherfucker. And not give him any of your sympathy. And this book really drove that right into the ground as to how maniacal leaders can be. And I think that it's really reflecting a lot of the horrors that are being inflicted on the Mexican people right now, or any really Hispanic person. People are afraid. People are...
It's more than Mexicans. It's like Haitians. It's
any person of color.
Any person of color.
Muslims, anybody who's protested legally or getting
Anyone
deported.
who's here legally.
Yeah.
Fuck
or
off.
Illegally.
You know, it's actually a misdemeanor to be here illegally.
And
it's not worthy of being sent to a fucking prison in a different country. What the fuck? How do
without
I have
due process.
Why do we have to say that for people to like in any way reading, like in any way to comprehend that?
They're not,
or the people who are trying to defend that, like
they're not humanizing them. They're just calling them violent gang members, but we don't know that for sure because they're getting deported without due process. And we've already seen proof of that with one gentleman who the Supreme Court, the most conservative court that we've ever known, has called for his return back to America because he was wrongfully deported. And this administration is now saying that they can't do that. And I think they can't find him. So please, if you're listening to this and you think that being a conservative is being reflected in art as your party as the victims, staunchly and strongly, I'm calling you on your bullshit. And you haven't been reading the same things that we've been reading. You haven't been looking at the same art that we're looking at, and you haven't been experiencing the things that we're experiencing in this country right now. So do some soul searching, do some more reading. I know it's a scary time right now, and I know that it's overwhelming. Unfortunately, that's been kind of a theme of the podcast, but this book really does have a lot of reflection onto some of the things or the directions that we're going in today. So just know that you do have support. Over half this country agrees with you if you are against this administration. You're not alone. Do not let them overwhelm you. So keep it up. Take your breaks when you need it. But just know that you're not by yourselves.
Thanks for joining us today on another episode of our lovely podcast.
And remember, no matter who you are, no matter where you are,
we love you.
We love you.
Bye.